So it took us a while, but we're here. We are at the end of everything Kent Hovind said during the Ra Kent Hovind debate video exchange from late 2018. It's been a while, but still as valid as ever. I thought, since we have a tendency to do 3 streams on a Sunday, because for some reason, I enjoy streaming. I thought it might be nice to finish up with this one. And Laura particularly was very enthused with the idea, as she is here in the chat. Hello again. So we're going to go on and knock this out, because that's just what we do around here. We're going to get some R and Raw. We're going to get, have to deal with Hovind, but we might get 20 or 30 seconds of R and Raw actually talking, which is going to be music to our ears considering what we've got to deal with. This is a solid hour of Hovind, so we're going to have to fight through it, but this is it. After this, the entire exchange is over. From, as Aaron likes to call him, Cunt Koresh's side. So let's get right to this. Just take that in for a minute. Let me screen cap that. There's your thumbnail.
All right, folks, welcome. Kent Hovind here at Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama.
Loud? He's a little loud. And turn him down just slightly.
I'm giving my, I guess, my final response to Mr. Nelson. If I think the numbering is slightly off, we're disagreeing on what's going on, but he gave his first one, which is his 3 evidences for evolution. Finally, I gave a response, which was 7 videos long. He then gave a response, which was about 6 or 7 videos long. I think 7.
You would give a response of 6 videos long for one little 20-minute video.
And now I'm now giving my final response. So as far as I'm concerned, Larry, this is it. Now, if you want to continue, we can, but I have plenty of other things to do. Okay, so we are on round 2, part 2 of his debate, of his video, where he interjected his comments in my...
Yeah, well, you were saying you're on round 3, not understanding how rounds work, Kent.
My original response to his question, or to my question to him, he said, the 3 best evidences for evolution. So we're going to take it up from about the 8-minute mark, if you're following along. Round 2, part 2, Hovind versus Larry Nelson. I don't want to call him the Egyptian sun god, because you have to be bright to be a sun. Okay, here we go.
Oh, Kent. Hairs coming off of Aaron's head have more intelligence in them than you have in your entire body, and will have had any given year of your life, that entire year, all 365 or 366 days of it combined. If such makes sense. Y'all know what I mean. Let's continue. Aaron knows his shit.
And then only for religious reasons, and that's your...
Here is where he is claiming, where we left off last time, that all scientists...
And then only for religious reasons. He let Aaron get a whole 6 words in.
...believe in evolution, except for just a few little minority. So I'm going to play this and give a rather long response to this one.
In the United States, where we have more creationist Christians than any other nation. If 99 and 44 100ths is considered pure, as it is in the silver trade, then evolution is accepted by the entire global scientific community. That's about as mainstream as it gets. While creationism is common among the undereducated...
Notice the slam here. We'll fix that in a minute.
Well, not really a slam. It's a statistical fact. I mean, it's, it's not a pleasant one, but it is true. Generally speaking, undereducated people tend to be creationists, tend to be fundamentalist, and they're the ones who tend to never grow out of it. Whereas others, if the right seed is planted, they're of intelligence where it's fertile soil to germinate. And eventually they might realize they've been manipulated and lied to. They'll see through the deceptions. Those are beautiful moments.
Larry, okay, undereducated. You have 2 years of college.
Creationist scientists are a pitiful minority of religious extremists who can only be...
They're a pitiful minority of religious extremists. The logical fallacies here are multitude, okay? We're going to get to those in...
Yeah, hurry up and get to them, Mr. Hovind.
in just a minute.
Productive in unrelated fields. Creationism does not and cannot contribute anything to science.
Really? Okay, Mr. Nelson, this is a bold-faced lie. I'm going to expose that. I'm just going to give just a brief part of what I cover on my video number 7 of my creation seminar series. Part 7 is called Answers, Questions, and Answers. It's actually 2 DVDs long, 5 hours just on Q&A. One of them is...
Wow, he didn't try to sell it. This is back before he got desperate for money. Oh yeah, this is back when he could still, get those super chats and advertise on YouTube. Even though he claimed he didn't, he did.
Don't all scientists believe in evolution? I get asked that question a lot, so I answer it, and here's the answer that I give. Larry likes to use the argument from majority opinion as if that means...
I've really got to say, I love that there's actual production value here on these videos. That, I guess it would have been Steve Lind at the time, that he actually went through and made these into actual videos that were worth watching. Now, I know it's a lot, me to say, someone who just hops on Restream and does these things is what Hovind does now, because that's exactly what I do. But there used to be production value behind Hovind's stuff, and then it just got worse and worse. Well, some production value in cases like this. There's none now.
Something. He said 99 point whatever it is, 86% of all scientists believe in evolution. I don't know where he gets that number. Who's doing the counting?
The tradesmen who determine what is pure. What is this, Kent, where everything you do is a constant appeal to authority, yet when authorities declare something, if you don't like it or you don't know about it, you just poo-poo it away? I'm sorry, I think the people who are in the silver industry get to decide what pure silver is. I think the chemists who understand, hydrocarbons get to determine what oil and kerosene are. All right, just because you think you could put diesel inside of your car doesn't mean you can and it's going to actually operate, all right? Trust me, I wish it would. That'd be cool. But they're fundamentally different. Diesel and kerosene, but it's damn close. And RP1, powered the Saturn V first stage, is basically really refined kerosene. Still not the same thing. The people behind this stuff determine these things. You should understand this, but you don't. It's incredible how blatant you are with not grasping how reality works.
But let me just point out a few things for you to consider here. Jesus didn't spend any money building a big university. He would preach anywhere from any place he wanted to. And the majority of scientists do not.
Had he built something, it probably would have just been ransacked because, everyone was kind of doing that shit back in the day. Just saying.
Not believe in evolution, I don't believe. We'll get into that in a second. Did history's most famous scientists believe in God? I just Googled it a few minutes ago. They said, oh yeah, there's a lot of scientists that believe in God. Are religion and science...
Yeah, and did creationist thinking actually bring about any kind of advances in science? Because if it didn't, then Aaron's right.
Science always at odds? Here are 3 scientists that don't think so from science. Here's a list of Christians in science and technology who believe in creation. This is just a quick list. You can go, it's page after page after page of scientists. This is in history in old times, in the 1700s, in the 1800s, in the 1900s.
Okay, let's make a list page after page after page of scientists who don't believe in Christianity, who aren't creationists, who don't accept theology. Oh, wait, there's a whole thing like that of just scientists, what is it, the Steve Project or something? Just scientists with one particular name, and it's more than creationists can come up with, like of an entire list totally in a field. Gives you a sense of the scale of the numbers here, how many scientists there actually are versus the ones you're going to cherry pick to say, well, they believe and they believe and they believe, and that's an absolute minority of a fraction.
There have been thousands and thousands of scientists who were Bible-believing Christians or Christians. Some tried to blend evolution with the teaching of the Bible. I think that's a heresy to both camps. Neither side wants those guys. But there is page after page.
Oh, see, that's where you're wrong, Kent. And this is the first I've ever heard you say this. I don't give a damn if someone super religious accepts evolution. And by that I mean them being religious. It doesn't make sense to me. But if they're going to compartmentalize their theology that far and accept evolutionary principles and understanding of what is obviously evident with life on this planet, cool. And if they're going to think the deity was involved in it, okay, awesome. I really don't care. They're not denying reality. They're adding extra steps, but they're not denying reality. I'll take that. Just it's so funny how you don't realize what you say, Kent. Don't realize how wrong you are.
Page after page of people who believe in creation. Scientists who believe in creation. Just Google it. Scientists who believe in creation. So I went through and just copied and pasted all the pages. You can read it for yourself from Wikipedia or something like that. Kurt Wise, friend of mine from Georgia, teaches, has a PhD from Harvard University, believes in creation, young earth creation. Baylor University, Waco, Texas.
Yeah, what's his PhD in? Can anyone check that? What this dude's? Okay, I'm gonna do it. Kurt Wise, PhD. Paleontologist. Okay, that's kind of, sort of, almost getting into those ranges of stuff. That's representative. I mean, actually, now I think about it, I know the name. I now know the name. Funny seeing his face. I'd never built the association, so it threw me off. Yeah, that Kent would, of course, like him because paleontology and Dr. Dino go hand to hand like Lube and Chris Jones with Kent.
University believes in creation, young earth creation. Baylor University, Waco, Texas.
Thank you, the Stephen Project.
Fired William Dembski because he advocated intelligent design. Here's what a formerly Christian college firing a professor because he said there might be a designer. Larry, there is a discrimination against Christians and against creation in this country. Just like...
Notice how he has to cite a source for this just general broad fact, yet when it comes to other stuff, he won't cite anything. It's like, Kent, you don't necessarily need to cite every single detail like this, in this way, every single time. And you know this because you don't do it when it's convenient for you to obfuscate things. It just looks silly. It's like you're just stating a fact. He was fired in 2000 and because he advocated intelligent design. Like, okay, I guess saying because he advocated intelligent design, and then one can look into something. News Herald, Panama City. I mean, I guess we could look into it further, so maybe it's not as bad as I initially thought, but still, it's just one of those things. It's like, did it really need to be cited to that detail? I guess so. So I stand corrected.
Like there is a discrimination against Christians in Muslim countries, okay? And in communist countries and many other places. I'll show you in a minute. So just the fact that...
I found another North Korean defector on Instagram. Yeah, I know that's weird to just come up with out of nowhere, but there's been a few that I'd followed, and then their accounts had all disappeared. So is what it is, sadly. But he had explained how that we always draw the thing of, oh, they worship the Kim family like gods, and it's like, well, no. I mean, there's words that refer to deities historically in traditional Korean shamanistic beliefs, but an active current concept of such doesn't exist in North Korea. And I'm like, it's not all bad in the DPRK. I'd seriously love to be in a place where there just is no religion. It'd be wonderful. Everything else about the DPRK, not exactly fond of. But that element, that's all right.
A number of people are afraid to be vocal about what they believe. If you do step out and say, hey, I think there might be an intelligent designer, you probably will get fired. There's a real academic problem here.
Music by Brian says, Ken thinks having to play by the rules is unfair. What a bitch. I second that. I love my comments. The existence of Christian scientists that accept evolution is Inconvenient, yep. With music by Brian also saying, no wonder he went to prison. Yeah, it's a small wonder. Communism is supposed to be atheistic, not merely just secular. This is true.
Baylor University, a formerly Christian university, fired a fellow for believing in creation and promoting it. Baylor University. Okay. Hire a creationist, a non-believer.
And he does that weird repeating a thing. Baylor University. Yeah, you said that. In fact, that was what your previous slide was. You just repeated yourself. Congratulations.
In Darwin, not a proud science journal. Forrest Mims was a science writer for 20 years. He published in National Geographic, Science Digest, American Journal of Physics, and 60 magazines and newspapers. He was denied a job as writer for Scientific American because he was a creationist. This is from the New York Times. Back in 1990. It gets worse. Rod LeVake taught in Faribault, Minnesota. He was caught in the evolution debate. Instructor, he was reassigned because he expressed doubts in Darwin's theory. You don't dare question Darwin's theory or you lose your job. Let's put him in PE instead or something like that. Educator quits over
no, that was Kim Jong-il that didn't use the restroom.
Reprimand for teaching evolution alternative. Teacher Dan Clark in Lafayette, Indiana, school superintendent Ed Eller told him not to introduce creationism to his class. Now, Dan and Mr. Ed Eller, there has never been a law against teaching creation in any public school. What happened in 1920s, all the schools taught creation.
No, actually, they didn't. And yeah, in all functional practicality, there is and have been laws preventing teaching of creationism because it is obligately religious, and that was verified in Kitzmiller versus Dover.
Evolutionists wanted to get their religion.
If I've got the case mixed up, please correct me, but I'm referring to the 2005 case. That's the one that comes to mind when I think of recent cases that regard this with the whole intelligent design / creationism being the same thing. You know, like the typo causing poor autocorrect and of pandas and people and all that jazz.
Taught in the schools. And there was a big court case, the Scopes monkey trial, where they said you cannot prevent evolution from being taught. The teacher, long story, we covered that on video number 7, but there are thousands of teachers who do believe in creation. In Indianapolis, he stood firm. Ed Eller said, no, we're going to fire you if you introduce creation to your class. The law has never said you can't introduce creation. They've consistently said you cannot make it.
Yeah, Laura, according to Google's AI, Baylor University is a private Baptist research university in Waco, Texas.
Required to teach creation. There's never been a case where the court said you can't teach creation. You've always been allowed to teach creation. Ed Eller wrote an official reprimand to science teacher Dan Clark, accusing Clark of introducing creationism, special creation, and religion to students and ordered him to stop. Dean Kenyon, co-author of this book, Pandas and...
There's the book. There's the book. I want a copy of that. I want to read through it. I could turn it into a whole goddamn video series, just going through of pandas and people and ripping that shit apart.
People, that's in here somewhere. You see that? You never find it now. He taught biology at San Francisco State University. He wrote books about evolution. In 1993...
You know, it seems, it's got to be just coincidence, but there seems to be a subversive amount of racism there in that they pick pandas. But then again, the onomatopoeia of pandas and people kind of works. But it reminds me of that Berenstain Bear book where the panda family moves in and Papa Bear is not happy. And I actually remember that from, I think, from my childhood, that I thought it was a little weird. And now it's become a meme. It's like, yeah, well, you know.
He was removed from his teaching position because he raised doubts about evolution. Whoa, I think it's called discrimination, Larry. Whoa. Okay, Hitler had anyone who disagreed with him rounded up and...
there we go. 6 minutes, 58 seconds in. Godwin's law broken.
Imprisoned or executed. Stalin had anybody who disagreed with him rounded up and executed or imprisoned. North Korea still rounds up and executes any dissenters.
Yeah, because they're authoritarian hellholes.
Check out, is there anybody in North Korea who speaks out vocally against communism? I would doubt it.
Also, Kent, the picture you showed there is from the 90s in China. It's a relatively famous photo from a set. And you'd be surprised that China doesn't do those kinds of public executions anymore. I know it's surprising, but they got a little bit better with these things. And by better, I mean less in your face. I won't go into detail.
Round them up, shoot them, and that way they can say, well, all people in the universities believe in communism, therefore it must work. Yeah, let's round up anybody who dissents, anybody who dares to question.
And like your creationist utopia wouldn't do the same, Kent. Would it do the same? Because if you say no, you're lying. It would. Just look at what Happy Fun President Boy was doing during the term that he was in while you were doing this video, and Sturm now. Just, doing whatever they can. Protesters, gas them, run them over, doesn't matter. Immigrants, deport them. People who were once immigrants, deport them. Oh, not my wife, though, but everybody else. Citizens, if they're still of a certain skin tone, get them out of here. It don't matter. I'm Donald Trump. I can do what I want.
China. I don't know if you ever had a finger or something put between your fingers and then clamped together. It's one of the most excruciating pains there is. That's the way they torture them. Put boards between the fingers and squeeze them tight with a bungee cord and then beat them. Let's make them denounce Christianity. The stuff they go through in China is unbelievable. Anybody who dissents against communism or Chinese communism is beaten, tortured, executed. It's still happening. Now in America, they're not killing them or beating them yet, but they're just firing from their job for not believing in creation. So you're using the statistics.
Who is this they? Can you show paperwork that shows that they terminated someone from their job? Or are these private organizations doing what they do as per capitalism, which you're supposed to be such a staunch supporter of, being a right-wing fuck job?
Saying 99.86% of all.
Something I fucking love about right-wing idiots is that whenever they're on the find out portion of FAFO, when it comes to the bullshit that the kinds of over-enabled, unregulated capitalism we have in this country, when it actually hits them, because it is pretty damn unregulated, all things considered, what companies can do that regular people can't, and vice versa. They always bitch about it and claim it's communism and authoritarian and they are doing it, when it's like, no, that's just exactly what you've allowed businesses, the kind of power you've allowed them to have. Then they get mad at you and say you're lying. It's like, no, it's exactly how it is. It's pretty open and shut. You didn't believe us, then it happened to you.
Scientists believe in creation. I think you might want to look at the real reason. I don't think that number is correct, by the way, but I believe in evolution. I think that you need to look at maybe the reason behind it is because you lose your job. Muslim countries still to this day.
I am not going to be able to monetize this video. Thank you, Kent. You fucker. So if anyone else is feeling generous or has stuff to spare, additional super chats, super thanks, what have you, membership, donate, joining, what have you, anything you want, at the Patreon, I would say go to my website and click on things, but I can't say that, so I didn't say that. I just said I could say that, but you know what I mean. If you can help out, that's great, because this is not going to be monetized.
Hey,
thanks, asshole.
Round up dissenters and imprison them or execute them. Estimate is, since Muhammad was born in the 600s, that 600 to 700 million people have been executed because of Islam.
Hey, everyone. You mashing that X button to doubt? Because I sure as hell am.
So therefore they can say, well, everybody in our country believes in Islam. Well, yeah, because you killed the ones who don't. They're still to this day.
Everyone believes in Christianity. Yeah, because you killed the ones who don't. See how easy it is, Kent? That's the kind of shit y'all want. You start with the minorities your book tells you to target, and then you just move on up. We know your game.
Beating, torturing, imprisoning people, killing people who don't believe. Here's in Romania, my roommate in college was Romanian. What happened in Romania in the early 1900s is awful. They rounded up the Christians. Here they are crucifying a bunch of Romanian Christian girls.
Yes, you did. Authoritarianism is when you tell me what to do. Justice is when I can tell you what to do. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I mean, yeah, Sleek. I could get it too. It's just it's going to be a matter of downloading and re-uploading all this shit, and it's just editing, re-rendering, and I don't care enough. It's not that crucial, but at the same rate, it freaking pisses me off. This whole rant and R and Rob barely said anything. Yeah, this. I mean, we all know this is all Hovind's thing, but just damn, just at this point, just persecution complex.
Crucifying them because they didn't want to convert to Islam and be somebody's sex slave. Muslim countries still have dissenters rounded up and imprisoned or executed in all these countries. It's horrible what's happening. There's a bunch of herdsmen massacre Christians in Nigeria. Michael Denny at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas, told his students, right here, the third criteria for receiving a recommendation letter from Denny to pursue a career in medicine. If you set up an appointment to discuss the letter of a writing of recommendation, I will ask you, how do you think the human species originated? If you cannot truthfully and forthrightly affirm a scientific answer to this question, in other words, you can't say God did it, then you should not seek my recommendation for admittance to further education in the biomedical sciences. So he's using this to stop any student who might happen to believe in creation from going on and beginning their degree. Why do I?
Okay, they could just get a recommendation from somebody else. If they can't, well, tough shit, Sherlock.
Ask this question. Let's consider the situation of one wishing to enter medical school. Whereas medicine is historically rooted first in the practice of magic and later in religion, modern medicine is an endeavor that springs from the sciences, biology first among these. The central unifying principle of biology is the theory of evolution. Michael Denny.
Still from a silent film. Thank you, Tubian. Makes me feel a little better about all the bullshit that just went on screen for like 5 minutes.
This is absolutely stupid. Okay, that is not true. Evolution has nothing to do with medicine or anything else. It's not scientific at all.
So he actually did attend a real college. Real, in quotes, it was still a Christian college at an actual physical campus back when he was of the appropriate age to be going to college. This was during the 70s, right after he was brand new Christian. As if Christians never had their believe, confess, or die. Yeah, exactly. Crusades, anyone?
All. And Larry, medicine, evolution don't go together. Evolution is a useless theory. And I'll come debate Michael Denny with half my brain tied behind my back in front of his university. If I get half the time, we talk about one topic at a time. Anyway, he says evolution is the unifying principle, which includes both micro and macro. No, Michael Denny. Microevolution, variations within the kind, certainly happen. Here you are again trying to mix the 6 different meanings of the word evolution. I know it's going to drive Larry crazy, but here was my chart again, Larry. There are 6 different meanings to the word.
That pathetic ass chart.
Microevolution is the only one that is scientific. Nobody's ever seen any animal or plant or insect or anything, any living thing, produce anything other than its kind. It does not include micro and macro, which extends to all species. Michael Denny.
It's weird that he says the microevolution isn't evolution, but he puts it in the list of things, the 6 kinds of evolution, and then thus describes it as evolution and acknowledges it. So which is it, Kent? Which is it? Because if you've classed it as part of evolution, guess what? You just said that evolution does happen. But remember, he taught language. He knows that they're English.
You are insane to say such a thing. How can someone who does not accept the most important theory in biology, here you go again, arguing for majority opinion, it's not an important theory in biology, it has nothing to do with biology. To properly practice in a field that is so heavily based on biology. I agree, medicine and being a medical doctor is heavily based on biology. I agree with that. But it's not heavily based on evolution. There's no connection. Stop it.
Hit up Kent's Wikipedia page. I can't remember offhand, but he went to a proper school of some kind that was still a Christian school nonetheless, but at some point, the little education degree he claims to have in like Christian education, his only legitimate degree is from that.
But it's hard to imagine how this can be so, but it's easy to imagine how physicians who ignore or neglect the Darwinian aspects of medicine or the evolutionary origin of humans can make bad clinical decisions. Denny, you have got to be insane to believe such a thing. The current crisis of antibiotic resistance is the result of such decisions. For others, please read the citations below. Good medicine, like good biology, is based on the collection and evaluation of physical evidence. I agree. All we've ever observed is bacteria produce bacteria.
You know what I think, Kent? Hang on, it's coming. Ah, damn it. I got a burp, but it ain't coming like I thought it would. Let's continue.
Now, if bacteria become resistant to a particular drug you're giving, that resistance had to already be in the gene code of the bacteria. Bacteria do not become resistant to 12 billion degree Fahrenheit. Okay, they don't, it's not in their gene code. There are limits to this. So what they're doing is it's natural selection is working, or in this case, artificial selection by giving a drug to a patient, and they develop a resistance.
No, in this case, it would be natural selection insofar as random populations aren't being selected for this resistance. It's a case of they're being exposed to it, and they're naturally, what? Oh, fucking hell. Are you serious? I apologize. I just got an absolute bullshit notification. Yeah, that's, I'm gonna have to be disputing that. Wonderful. I'll tell you all about that later. Let's just say, I think, with recent data leaks, my card info or something got out there.
All the bacteria die except for 1% that happen to have this resistance, which they already had in them. And then they produce the babies for the next generation. That's not evolution. That's natural selection or artificial selection. It's selecting a slice of a pre-existing gene code. I don't know how you guys can't get that. So much physical evidence supports the evolution of humans from non-human ancestors. That is a bold-faced lie, Denny. That one can validly refer to the fact of human evolution. Well, you can dream that all you want. And I'm sure Larry dreams the same thing. Evolution's a fact. Even if all the details are not yet known, tacit admission there, we don't really know the details yet. You don't know anything about it. Nobody's ever seen any animal produce a different kind of animal. None. Doesn't happen.
Yeah, so it looks like some cocksucking piece of shit in Europe apparently is using my bank information to sign up for Crunchyroll. So I'm going to be on, not on the horn with region, so to speak, but with the support system to begin fighting that immediately. And obviously I'm going to need to get a new bank card. Wow, just love it. Just love when shit happens. That's what happens when, 16 billion records get pulled because no company can secure shit. Fucking assholes.
Quit dreaming. One can deny this evidence only at the risk of calling into question one's understanding of science. No, this is absolute propaganda. Just like they'd say, well, if you don't believe in communism, you shouldn't live. Or if you don't believe in Muslims, Islam, or Prophet Muhammad, you shouldn't live. That's exactly what they're doing, only here it's in the field of science. Such an individual has committed to malpractice regarding the method of science. No, they have not. Good scientists would never throw out data that do not conform to their expectations. Oh, really? I'll tell you what, crossbreed hamsters for the next 500 years. I'd be willing to bet 500 years from now, I used to raise hamsters, hundreds of them. You can get several generations in a year. I'd be willing to bet they're still going to be hamsters. They've been doing bacteria for how many generations now? 60-some thousand generations? Trying everything they can to get them to mutate. Nuke them, microwave them, x-ray them, everything they can. They still produce bacteria. Strange. So the observations of science would tell us animals produce after their kind, which is exactly what God said 20 times in the first 7 chapters of Genesis. This is the situation of those who deny the evolution of humans. Such a one is throwing out information because it seems to contradict his/her cherished beliefs. No, Denny, people are throwing out evolution because there's no scientific evidence for it. They're not throwing it out because it contradicts.
Except for, creationist nutwits who never accept
Their cherished religion. Now, it does contradict their religion, I agree, but that's not why they're throwing it out. They're throwing it out because it has no scientific evidence. Nobody's seen a dog produce a non-dog, ever. Even if they try to, you're not going to get it. Can a physician ignore data he/she does not like and remain a physician for long? Good question, Michael. Can you ignore the fact that bacteria always produce bacteria and then go teach your students that bacteria turned into whales? How could you teach them such a thing? Hello? No. If modern science is based on the method of science, then how can someone who denies the theory of evolution, why would you tie evolution into science? There's no connection. Anyway, the very principle of modern biological science, no, it's the pinnacle, I'm sorry. No, it is not the pinnacle of biological, it's the pinnacle of stupidity. How can anyone ask to be recommended into scientific profession to be a professional scientist? If you still want to make an appointment, you can do so in person during my office hours. Call me or email me, Michael Denny. Students at Texas Tech offered Denny $1,000 if he would debate me when I spoke in Lubbock, Texas back in '03. He refused. There's the phone number. If it's still good, I don't know. Professors are often brave in front of their students where they have an
phone
obvious
numbers and everything, because he's Hovind.
academic and psychological advantage, but I've had nearly 7,000 professors refuse to debate me. Denny,
Or it's worse
offer,
though, so
still
they're
up.
held accountable, but only for a certain amount, like that Experian leak, to where once people heard about it, I knew some people who were posting shit like "get your money" with the link to file out claims, and eventually, when the claims coming in broke the amount of payout, even if it was like $5, they were eventually like, "Well, we can't pay everybody out. Our settlement is, 16 million or whatever." So they picked and chose what happened. And like I, for example, didn't get diddly shit, which, it's whatever. But
lot, okay? I'm sure we can find some students to raise $1,000 to have you debate me. Professor who refused to write letters of recommendation for his students if they don't believe in evolution is being accused of religious discrimination. Whoa. Federal officials are investigating, the school said. The legal complaint was filed against Texas Tech.
Normally I'd be kind of laughing about stuff, and honestly, I'd rather just kill the stream and do this again, and rather take care of this immediately. But I mean, whatever. Yeah, no, I'm fucking pissed because they do this shit. This kind of shit happens with things already being tight as hell and just out of the blue. So
Tech University professor Michael Denny by a student and the Liberty Legal Institute, a religious freedom group that calls Denny's policy open religious bigotry. Yay, go get them. Okay, this was 15 years ago. Students are being denied recommendations not because of their competence in understanding evolution, but solely because of their personal religious belief, Kelly Shackelford, chief counsel for the Institute, said. Anyway, you can read the articles for yourself. There's been a battle going on for a long time in the school system, and guys like Denny will work their best to make sure nobody gets through their class that doesn't pretend to believe in evolutionism. Just like you have to pretend to believe how wonderful communism is in North Korea, or you're going to lose your job or your life. It's a theory. You read about it in textbooks. I could explain the process, maybe how some people say it happens, but I could not have said I believe in it, Spalding said. I really don't see how believing in evolution of humanity has anything to do with patient care or studying science. I agree. It's got nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. Now, Larry, I know you believe it does. I'm sorry for that. I don't know who taught you that. They lied to you. Get your money back for that accredited 2-year degree you have and say, I'm sorry, I got lied to. Okay. Spalding re-enrolled at Texas Tech after obtaining a recommendation letter at the other school. Denny writes he has the policy because he doesn't believe anyone should practice in a biology-related field without accepting the most important theory in biology. Denny, evolution is not an important theory in anything. It's a useless, complete waste of time, religious belief. Good scientists would never throw out data that do not conform to their expectations or beliefs, he writes. Oh, really? Okay, well, all the data shows dogs produce dogs.
Yep,
all
the
data.
Data shows mammals will continue to produce mammals. That's kind of how monophyly works. Branching pattern where you inherit all the traits of your ancestors, all the descriptive criteria. Even if you lose traits, you're never not anymore part of that clade. You're just picking the end result and not looking at the broader picture. While you simultaneously acknowledge things like humans and dogs both being mammals. Well, why? You say they were just created that way, and it's like, no, record of evolutionary heritage. You just say nuh-uh to it. And if everything was specially created, why would it be simultaneously so diverse yet so well nested? So similar in some ways yet so different in others? You would expect it to all be effectively the same or wildly different. Just what we have doesn't add up.
Anyway, that's from Fox News. The feds finally dropped the case after the professor changes his evolution policy. This was all big in the news. This is just an example of how teachers discriminate against creationists. And then they can say, look, all graduates believe in evolution. Yeah, because they discriminate against you and won't let you graduate. You can stop, hit pause, and read these for yourself. This is all about Denny. I've got a ton of material on many others also. The school said, oh, he didn't change his policy, he only clarified it. Oh, this is called backpedaling right here. Okay. Then he could not be reached for comment. Okay. They said the change is a victory. Hit pause and read these for yourself. Kelly Shackelford at the Institute worked very hard to get them to just come to common sense. This is discrimination, guys. You're discriminating against a student because they don't have a religion of evolution, and evolution is a religion. At Patrick Henry College was notified it had received initial accreditation by the American Academy for Liberal Education. Oh, so Patrick Henry College was said, oh, you're going to be accredited. Pre-accreditation status, November 2nd meeting. The status is the standard path of official sanction for new institutions. They denied accreditation to PHC last April because of its views on creation. Patrick Henry? Give me liberty, give me death? That college was denied accreditation because of their belief in creation? You mean there's discrimination in America? Well, they don't shoot them and, torture them and stuff like that yet, but they sure try their dead level best to do what you're doing, Larry, and just claim that everybody believes in it. Look at the majority opinion. The appellate panel reversed the initial denial and reprimand the decision to the board for reconsideration. Now, you can read all this for yourself. I'm just pointing out there is incredible discrimination in America for people who believe in creation. So for you to
Meh, there isn't. Get the fuck over it, Kent.
Claim that 99.86% of the scientists believe in creation, I doubt that number. Secondly, if there is a higher percentage than the other group that believes in creation, it may be because of the persecution and discrimination. Do a survey in China among all the economics professors over there. How many of you believe in communism versus capitalism? I bet you'd get 99.86% believe in communism. Do a survey in a Muslim country. How many of you think Islam is the best religion in the world? I bet you'd get near 100% survey there too.
Go to a Christian country, do a survey. I bet you get a whole lot of people that say Christianity's really good. It's funny, the kinds of people you're asking. It's almost as if you're wanting answers that, you're just picking a group that's going to give the answers you want to prove whatever point it is. While simultaneously claiming it's, conspiracy when it's simple authoritarianism that goes all ways and indeed is what he wants, but he will never admit it.
Larry? Professor dumped over his evolution beliefs. Agape Press. A professor said she was asked to resign for introducing elite students to flaws in Darwin's thought. You can't even introduce the flaws. And you've said several times how brilliant Darwin was and how wonderful his book was. I'll just skip through some of this. I have tons of material on this. We could take a whole presentation just on the discrimination against Christians for believing in creation and how they don't graduate them from school. They withhold accreditation. They withhold grants. Unbelievable. It's been in the news for years. Here are some scientists who believed in creation. Major scientists. Evolution. You said evolution, and you said evolution is essential to science, and creationism hasn't contributed nothing. All these guys were creationists. Kepler, Francis Bacon, Pascal, Robert Boyle. You can go on through the 1600s, the 1700s, Isaac Newton, Carolus Linnaeus.
Yeah, but when has reality ever mattered to Kent? Also, notice all these dates from multiple centuries ago going on his list.
Georges Cuvier. There have been thousands and thousands and thousands of scientists who believe God created the world. Yeah, there's no contradiction for sure between believing in creation and being a brilliant scientist. I think there's a contradiction between believing in evolution and being a brilliant scientist. You have to lay half your brain at the door to believe everything came from a dot of nothing and dogs produce non-dogs. It doesn't happen. This is all in chronological order, by the way. Werner von Braun, space scientist we got from Germany, was a creation scientist. A.E. Wilder-Smith. The Wright brothers were creationists. They studied God's design of birds to develop the airplane. And they're
Yeah, that's why nothing about birds, save for similarities in wind shape due to simple fluid dynamics, is involved in flight. It's almost as if the actual scientific properties are what mattered and not anything about the birds.
first propeller had almost exactly the right curve to get maximum thrust because of their belief
No, it didn't.
in creation and designed after the bird wing. Interesting.
Yes, that's why every propeller ever was identical to that. They got it right in the first try and never, ever, in any way, shape, or form, designed any propellers better. Oh, jet engines? No, they never engineered that either. Turbojets? No, never happened because God's design was better. Piston powered, things going. Oh, and then the turbo prop. Oh, put the prop on a jet and use the turbine to spin. Oh, well, nope, still didn't do that. And then the turbo fan, have a large fan, basically a multi-blade, a very high number of blades, moving a whole lot of air at once. Just like birds have. Nope, never did that. That never worked even better and even more efficiently than anything else. Nope. You don't know fucking anything about aviation, Kent. You don't know a goddamn thing about flight.
Raymond Damadian, creation scientist with scores of patented ideas, he invented the MRI, magnetic resonance imaging machine. He's a creationist.
Well, let's be clear. When you get to rocketry, if you're not using wings to generate lift, I don't consider it flight. Rocketry, you're effectively brute forcing your way to a place. Aerodynamics is involved. But I stand that a lot of the principles necessary for rocketry to work and understanding of ballistic flight to that degree and those kinds of regimes could have actually been done without us ever discovering level flight, since it is a method of brute forcing things. That being said, it would have taken longer, would have been harder, and we probably would have incidentally discovered many flight principles as a side effect. But indeed, rocketry predates actual flight with small like fireworks and the like, and early rockets as weapons, spears and such on there. But still, yeah, I mean, in the end, fucking rocket engine, it's like, yeah, that's totally what birds have.
There's plenty of books about this topic on creation. It's simply not true. We've got Karl Popper said evolution is not a fact. Evolution doesn't even qualify as a theory or hypothesis. It's a metaphysical research program. It's not really testable.
I neither know who Karl Popper is nor give a damn about anything he had to say.
Science. Karl Popper, a great scientist who does not believe in your religion, Larry, of evolution. Julian Huxley, I think it's Thomas Huxley's grandson, said, I suppose the reason was why we slept at origin of the species was the idea of God interfered with our sexual mores. Oh, that's the reason you believed in evolution. You don't want God telling you can't commit adultery. Okay.
Says the guy's been married 4 times. Married in quotes, whatever.
Evolution is unproved and unprovable. Michael Ruse, at University of Guelph in Canada. Evolution is promoted by its practitioners as more than mere science. Evolution is promulgated as an ideology, a secular religion, a full-fledged alternative to Christianity with meaning and morality. He says, I am an ardent evolutionist and an ex-Christian. But I must admit that in this one complaint, and Mr. Gish is but one of many to make it, the literalists are absolutely right. Evolution is a religion. This was true of evolution in the beginning, and it's true of evolution still today. I agree. Professor Banu.
Oh, good thing I don't care what any of these people have to say one way or the other, because their opinions mean fuck all to the actual facts there, Kent. So you're just bloviating to nobody for no reason.
Said, evolution is a fairy tale for grown-ups. The theory has helped nothing in the advancement of progress of science. It is useless. Larry, evolution's a useless theory. Nearly all branches of science were started by creationists. Evolution theories added nothing to the advancement.
Yeah, I'm very certain he legally is.
Of science, it's a useless theory. When students or professors fear expressing their conclusions under threat of being flunked, demoted, fired, or ostracized, science is suppressed. Any advancements in technology have nothing to do with evolutionary theory. Evolution is hindering the growth of science. So, Larry, I think you are completely wrong, or you're deliberately lying, or you're really deceived to say that most people believe that all scientists believe in creation, 99.86%, more pure than silver. That's simply not true, okay? Secondly, I think that the discrimination against creation has been incredible, and you need to really reevaluate this whole thing. Thirdly, arguing from majority opinion is a lousy argument for anything. The majority has often been wrong. Study the history of science.
Yep. So majority can be wrong. So what about these majorities you're constantly talking about with Christianity and religiosity in general, Kent? Goes both ways, buddy.
Let's go on with your diatribe. All right, folks, we are going to get a friend of mine, Robert, in here, who does professional counseling.
Oh, yeah. The friend of his, Robert. Yep. We really got someone important in here. Someone who's totally not completely fucking made up.
And can analyze arguments like this. You listen to Mr. Nelson, who calls himself the sun god. You listen to his diatribe. Robert, tell me what your thoughts are so far. What's he doing logical fallacies here?
Well, it's a little bit painful to listen to, but starting right at the very beginning, all the way through to the first part, 632, on the recording, he's trying to take the higher moral ground here, and he's postulating absolute morality. He complains about you lying and your deception and your motives, all the while taking the moral high ground. And if in fact evolution is true, where does he get his sense of absolute morality?
Yeah, we got a real genius here going with the moral argument. Fucking idiots. I mean, think about that. All of these fucking arguments that Christians bring up, all of them have been discussed, in detail before any of us were born. We're just fighting echoes of an ancient battle that sadly most of the world hasn't gotten memo of yet.
Right.
If we're just machines, biological machines, then there can be no absolute moral authority or moral high ground. And if there's no moral high ground, there's no moral lawgiver. And if there's no moral lawgiver, of course, he's trying to say there's no God. But without God, there's no absolute moral ground. So what difference would it make if anybody were lying?
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of opinion.
Yep. And why would he spend his life devoting it to stopping people who think there might be one? What difference does it make?
As has been explained to you idiots countless times, it's because of the amount of damage that such thinking actually does cause people, and the way your kinds of groups try to thought police and control people. The outright rejection of reality that comes with such fundamentalist thinking. Damage that we're seeing done right now and have been seeing done for decades at this point. But of course, you all just see it as progress. Gotta own them libs. That's why it's 100 fucking degrees outside.
Bothered and offended by what he deems to be accusations by you that he is lying.
Yeah.
If he believes that evolutionism is true, then aren't you just acting on your instincts?
He just got done claiming that
my God, we've got two idiots trying to ramble on, acting like they've just discovered moral arguments.
Scientists, or nearly all scientists, believe in evolutionism, and therefore that's supposed to somehow make it true. Argument from majority opinion. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and we talked about that earlier. And, the majority at one time thought a lot of things that weren't true. That doesn't really hold up, but it's funny how he appeals to a majority when it serves him, and then goes back the other way when it doesn't. If we were to say that he doesn't have enough education to make these claims, and he's actually doing exactly what he claims to be bothered about with you.
Got real professional here. Real professional.
Now, he would tell you if you asked him that he wasn't bothered by that. But he really does seem bothered by what he's thinking that you're doing to him, as if there was a moral absolute involved here. Now, how can you have a moral absolute if there's no moral absolute lawgiver?
Correct.
He's a human being, right? He's got inherent emotions and feelings and all of that, and those things bother him.
Remember, this source is totally not biased.
If he perceives that you're accusing him of something. Where does he think he gets those feelings from?
Right. Does the lion have any feeling of conscience if he kills a baby zebra? No, that's lunch for him. He doesn't.
Yeah, it's not murder if a lion kills a zebra. In his video, he does a video called, aside from this one, even almost as painful as this one is to watch, he has one called Unfulfilling Prophecy, where he boldly claims that 0 prophecies in the Bible.
I swear, if you listen carefully, I think you can hear the guy doing the talking in the other room.
Have ever been fulfilled. He proudly says it like a small child that thinks he's the first person ever in history to discover that when you take the cookie part of an Oreo apart, that you can get to the cream center. He acts like he's the only one that's ever thought of this idea.
Right.
And it's silly and childish the way he goes about it. I mean, the prophecies in the Bible, whether you want to believe Bible or not, the prophecies are stunningly accurate. I mean, most people who don't want to believe...
S'mores, he's right there on the screen, on the screen, frozen in carbonite.
At least put up a fight by saying that this stuff was written after the prophecy in order to try to mask it. He doesn't even bother or have the intellectual rigor, apparently, to do the work to look into the prophecies. I don't know where he gets his ideas from on that one. He denies the reality of the biblical prophecies. It's a very heightened definition of obtuse.
Yep.
It's amazing.
It is the enemy of science.
Deviant talking about having looked up Louis Boundard, director of Strasbourg Zoological Museum, found Rational Wiki entry. Link that in the Discord, because that is totally something that needs to just be cross-linked in the Discord.
Science deals with things we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate.
That definitely applies to evolution, just about.
How he can say evolution can be observed, studied, demonstrated, tested blows my mind. I point out continually, nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. No farmer in the world has ever seen any.
And when people tell you that that's not what evolution is going to say, and then explain in detail exactly what is meant by that, you just poo-poo and nuh-uh it.
Any of his animals.
That's right, he nuh-uhs it.
Or plants produce anything other than their kind. How do you deal with a guy like this, Robert?
That's astounding. I mean, I don't know how you can get away with saying did he say tested and repeated, or tested and observed?
It is the enemy of science.
Science deals with things we can observe.
It's in the description of every one of my videos. If it doesn't work, keep clicking it till it does work, because I've tested it. The link is good.
Study, test, and demonstrate.
That definitely applies to evolution, just to...
Observe, study, test, and
Kent trying to sue Rational Wiki is like Chris Chan trying to sue 4chan and Encyclopedia Dramatica. It's such a fucking lolcow thing to do.
demonstrate. He said that applies to evolution.
And people actually listen to that?
Lots of people listen to this guy. I don't know why, but they do.
And people actually listen to Hovind? Lots of people listen to this guy. I don't know why.
I think they like the idea of getting rid of God in their life, and so there's no morals.
Oh no, Kent. Seems a little weird that the piece of shit was never in my life ever to begin with. Almost as if they don't fucking exist. Also, my moral standards are far better than yours. Look at my criminal record. Oh wait, I don't have one.
That's absolutely right. And that's probably what's going on here. I mean, even Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, recently said...
Like, you know, Seth and I have been hunting for places down here. And, you know, I did some recent background check stuff and you know, I actually got to see the reports and such. And it's like, there is literally nothing, absolutely nothing whatsoever shows up. Not even little stupid shit from my late teens, which should drop off, but still. Nor a little bit of residual bullshit from when I was 18. Absolutely nothing. My record is fucking clean. Kent's, not so much.
Said that...
Remember, Kent, I can legally own a firearm in all states. You can't, buddy.
The prophecies going into the New Testament are even being fulfilled. But Aaron Ra's got it figured out, that evolution that he's been able to see and test.
Well, if you've seen enough of him, see if my analysis is correct. When I taught school 15 years, there's always somebody in one of the classes who wants to be the bully and just, use
Yeah, that's you, Kent.
bravado, and, this is what he's doing, trying to just claim everybody's stupid except him. And, even his posturing, the way he, comes across is like, I'm the bully, don't you dare question me. Like, don't you dare.
Aaron's a cuddly puppy. What are you talking about? He cuts an intimidating figure, but that's just because he looks like a Klingon. Like, straight up. He's harmless. I want to meet that man. I want to give him a hug. I just want to be like, thank you. Not that I was deep in the religious, shithole, but it made me feel confident about realizing how I actually felt on this stuff. And I know he's that kind of guy. You, I don't want to touch. Gonna see you in a couple of weeks, probably shake your hand, but that's gonna be it. Not that you're probably much of a hugger anyway, but
Question, if I teach it, it must be right. I forget the name for that fallacy, but
it's called being Kent Hovind.
Other than
Also, you ever gonna activate Windows there, buddy?
And what do you see with most bullies? That underneath the veneer, there's something probably tragic going on, or has gone on.
Well, he was raised Mormon and gave up on Mormonism, which anybody with half a brain ought to give up on Mormonism. Study the history.
Hey. Mormonism does have endless celestial sex. I can see why some people would be drawn to that, alright? Alright? You don't believe me. I did a stream on it. Then we covered the Jehovah's Witnesses, too. That was some top tier shit right there.
Study the teachings of Joseph Smith, for heaven's sake. The guy was crazy. But
well, I'm glad he came out.
If you were to rewrite the Mormon story without the Abrahamic characters, it would actually be a pretty cool basis for some cool, like, modern-esque fantasy or something. That'd be kind of all right.
That far, but he needs to come a little further. If you go further into this particular video, at 1320, he talks about your evil acts and heartless stupidity, things like that, of Christianity, of religion. And he makes a point, like the tired old argument, that all religion is evil and all of that. We've heard people like that say things along those lines for years.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird thing there. And I've thought about it too plenty of times. Godspeed. The felons not having access to guns when we got a felon in the White House who has access to nukes. It's so very weird. Here's an interesting distinction, though. The firearm prohibition for felonies is just that, a firearms prohibition. Firearm having a definition that includes using smokeless powder as opposed to traditional black powder, thus allowing felons to own muzzle loaders and black powder guns, because they are not firearms legally. They are just guns. Firearm is a subclass of gun with particular characteristics. To that end, they can own a muzzle loader for hunting and the like, and it is perfectly legal. It is still a gun. So one has to be, if they want to be precise, has to stress with with gun ownership. As you see, I went there, immediately wanted to go to firearms ownership, that it's a matter of firearms as opposed to, black powder. So if you're a convicted felon and you want to go try and rob a bank with a blunderbuss, go at it. But I mean, talking Eminem here, you only get one shot. I've actually joked about leaving a muzzle loader by my bed. Someone comes in, taking them out 1750 style, but you can't do that. The compound, the material gets the black powder gets kind of volatile, and there's always a chance of something. So you really don't want to do that. So yeah, but more,
About What about Hitler, Pol Pot, Stalin?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Now, 32 minutes in, he's invoking Godwin's law. Oh, got to read the Pol Pot, the Hitler, the Stalin, all authoritarians. It's almost as if the authoritarianism is the issue.
About the 100 million people that they murdered in the 20th century alone.
Right.
Didn't count for less than 7% of all wars in the last 4,000 years. If you take away the Muslims, the number goes down below 3%.
Yeah, before you came on, I pointed out the Muslims have killed probably 700 million.
Laura, as soon as there's another event anywhere within reason in Texas that, he's going to be at and you can make it to, do your damnedest to make it up there and let him know. He's going to appreciate it. If at the very least, sending him an email. I know he'll enjoy that and respond. Not firsthand. I've never had direct interaction with Aaron. Beyond, commenting on some stuff, but just the kind of guy he is, how we've seen him over the past, decade that I've been aware of him. Yeah, he's definitely would appreciate that and enjoy it. Would buy her on a drink. I would not pee on Hovind if he was on fire. Yeah.
Way more than Hitler or Stalin and they don't tolerate any opposition. You have to believe like them. And
and I don't much care for Linus Tech Tips at all at this stage. There was a small window relatively recently, as in the past 8 years, where I looked at their video work. They did a thing, I think it was them, about not activating Windows, and it was because since they were using rigs for testing constantly, they didn't need to activate, since it was actually within the terms of use that during that activation period, that test period, where the Windows still operates, that's exactly what it's for. Like, hey, test stuff out. And they were doing just that, experimenting with like hardware and stuff. And, even Microsoft was like, yeah, you're good. You're not using it for anything productive. You're just literally trying to check stuff out. So go for it. So it's funny, the kinds of things that you can, the nuances to the way licenses are. I love that kind of stuff.
Larry here doesn't tolerate any opposition. You cannot question. He's smart.
Which begs the question: what is my video work licensed under? I mean, I guess it's in YouTube, the non-commercial thing, but I forget the exact attribution because I can't fight fair use, but I also retain ownership. Because while I'm not a fan of how copyright is enforced, I am pro copyright insofar as the right to ownership and right to copy of one's creative works. So it creates a gray area. I don't know. I just don't think there's any value in manipulating anything I create. Don't read too deep into that.
Everybody else is dumb.
The name that he picks out tells the tale.
Hovind summing up his entire thought on the world. Everyone else is dumb.
Aaron Ra, he's picking out the Egyptian god. So how does he see himself?
Oh, he's God.
As the god? You're right.
The god of light.
No one, I guess in his mind, no one's going to listen to the ramblings of Larry Nelson. They want to hear from the sun god, Ra.
Want to hear from God? Well, for the sun god, he sure got a dark background and dark clothing and dark. Okay. Anyway. Brother, you've been a great blessing. Put together some comments, and once we post this...
I thought that was the Catholic Church, but maybe it is Mormonism, so I'm not sure.
Feel free to post your comments on our YouTube channel, Kent Hovind Official, and let folks see the illogical brain this guy has on top of his head here. I'm baffled by it, but we're going to try to answer. I told him I'd answer.
Sure would.
Yeah. You've been a blessing. Thank you so much, brother.
God bless.
All right. Thanks a lot, brother. Bye-bye. All right, let's get a few more minutes here.
I remind everyone that whenever Hovind kicks the bucket, I intend to piss on his grave. That is the only grave I will ever disrespect of anyone in this country. There's one other grave I would most certainly love to disrespect. Well, two, if you accept Mark Felton's analysis on what actually happened to Hitler's remains. I discussed it in another stream, but Reinhard Heydrich's grave. Would love to defile that. But that's another story for another time. That's already happened.
Look at what evolution really is and not the straw man parody that you want your sycophants to think it is.
Look at all the words he uses here. All my sycophants. Okay. You folks who love the Lord and love our channel ought to be upset about that. Maybe comment on his. You're not a sycophant. But it's not a straw man parody, Larry.
Nick Fury with a good comment here. although I don't care much about evolution because we don't need it to explain why we don't believe in God, a very critical point that needs to be people need to be reminded of more often. But what is the evidence for it, or in what way has it been tested and observed? Uh, you're asking as far as what there is on evolution. It's well nested. Adam Sims has a lot of posts where he's gone over this, and a small video series sort of dedicated to this. You'll definitely want to check that out sometime.
There really are 6 different levels to evolution, and I know that frustrates you to death because all you have is evidence for number 6. Microevolution, and that's a lousy term. We shouldn't even use that word, but you guys do, so we're going to use it. What it really means is there's variations within the same kind of animal. That's all anybody's ever
Hey,
seen.
hey, Hovind might like you peeing on him. I'm just saying. He might be a freak like that based on his history.
If you want to dream about beyond that, you and SpongeBob get together, go for it. But it's imagination. It doesn't happen. And you're claiming you've got evidence. I asked you, show it to me. That was what this whole thing was about. Show me the best 3 evidences you have for evolution. And one of yours was majority opinion. Everybody believes it. That's not an evidence. Wow, let's continue here.
The National Academy of Science declares that evolution is a fact because
I don't care what they declare. That again, go back to the National Academy of Communism in North Korea declares communism as a fact. I'm sure they do.
Kent, DPRK follows a variation on general Marxist-Leninist communism, modified in multiple very specific North Korean ways, namely Songon and Juche. It's their socioeconomic system, an authoritarian one with centrally planned economy. It's not one of those things you describe as true or false. That is how it is. How do you not understand that? Whether you think it's a good way to do things or not is another story, which is what you're trying to insinuate, but that's not the concepts you conveyed.
What happens if you don't? What happens if you went against that? I just showed you some examples of people who tried to say, hey, maybe there's a God, and they get fired. So this majority opinion argument, A, I don't think it's true. B, it's baloney as far as logic goes.
it can be demonstrated.
It can be demonstrated. Okay. Show me how you said in one of our discussion, that a pine tree and a whale, I believe was the 2 I used, were related because they're both eukaryotes.
Deviating back, because I'm only catching up on chat, with regards to some copyright nuance, it's a matter of, especially given the nature of media this day and age and the importance of it to people expressing themselves, i.e. like short videos with song in the background, I believe more creative use should be allowed without, just the usurping of an entire thing, i.e. if a person has 1 minute of a song in a video that's an hour long, rights holder for that song should not be able to claim ownership of that entire video, monetization, what have you. That's more of a strict YouTube kind of thing, but that's an example where I think it's way excessive. Piracy is its own thing. There's ethical pros and cons there all day long. Won't discuss it here. Anyone who knows me knows where I act, what I do and don't do. It's the idea of owning what you create, but at the same rate, media creations kind of go into the public zeitgeist to a point where we should, as a community, have a little bit more leeway with what we can do in this digital era to show our appreciation of appreciation of such. Holy shit, I can't talk. For example, I have only been made aware of the CBS, I think it was a CBS show, Blacklist from 2013 to circa 2023, 2024, because of clips of it people were putting up on short forms on like YouTube. And seeing clips of this Reddington guy who's just totally badass made me interested in the show, and I'm quite enjoying it. I would not be aware of that otherwise. alternately, me pirating Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl back in 2007, running it on my barely can handle it PC, made me love the game so much that I wanted to purchase it. And I did. And then I purchased Clear Sky, the sequel, launch day, and Call of Pripyat launch day. I would have purchased Stalker 2 launch day had I had a system that could handle it. But I've opted out because it's been so many years, I'm a different person now. But yeah, I mean, I'm planning on writing an updated thing on my website about me and copyright and how I feel on things, because it's very mixed. Um, you know, but it goes without saying that I support where any creative wants to put stuff out as free in some case. Definitely support that where it's active. I'm obviously not against free and open source software, for example. That over, let's get back into the Hovind.
Could you please show me what was the common ancestor between a pine tree and a whale, and exactly what's the mechanisms of going from whatever that was to a whale and a pine tree? You said it can be demonstrated.
Tubia and Mark Felton did a whole series on Hitler's remains that's definitely worth checking out. That the NKVD and the Soviet story that we did get might not be so accurate based on other bits of information and testimony. Like, it adds up pretty well.
Demonstrate it, Larry.
I can prove that the things I say really are true.
And yes, Kent does admit there's evidence for evolution. As I mentioned earlier, the whole 6 levels of evolution, he says the 6th does happen, thus it's an aspect of evolution, thus evolution does happen, but he uses the same fact that that's the only one that happens to say it doesn't happen. It's weird.
Can't, okay. You can prove the things you say really are true. Okay, prove it. That's how this whole thing started. I asked you for the 3 best evidences for your religion of evolutionism, and you gave them, finally, on part 1, majority opinion is an evidence for evolution? Go back and listen to your own.
Oh yeah, this is true. The root Marxism is a scientific theory. Well, I don't want to say scientific theory because that has a definite thing, but it is it has a scientific element to it. It gets complicated. Remember, we reserve theory to things that have actually graduated to that status.
Own 3 best evidences, and if you want to give your best 3, we'll give your next best 3. I'd like to see them. You cannot prove what you are believing. You just either are really deceived or you're deliberately lying, Larry.
So when I go to Kentucky, I've got a sort of a Hawaiian shirt that I'm gonna wear. That'll be fun.
This isn't true, what you just said. You cannot prove any such thing. Now, you might get some of your low IQ followers to say, oh, wow, Larry can prove it, therefore let's go follow Larry. I hope some of you followers of Larry have a brain in your head, can say, what is this guy talking about? Nobody's ever seen any animal produce a different kind of animal, ever. None. It's never been observed. You can't prove it. You're dreaming or lying.
You can only lie about that and misrepresent it because there isn't.
I don't lie about it and misrepresent it, Larry. I say...
Well, Zumi, this actually was a debate exchange between these two, primarily because Kent was pissed that the appearance on the Non Sequitur show where Kent and Aaron had a discussion was not a debate, even though he thought it was, and complained about it as if it was a poorly moderated one.
Dogs produce dogs. Bacteria produce bacteria. 0 exceptions. I'm not lying about it. That's a scientific fact.
Never been factually accurate evidence against evolution, and
There's never been accurate evidence against evolution. Look, it's a religion. It's your job to supply evidence for it.
Yeah, I mean, copyright needs to be reformed, and Disney needs to cease to be. Just straight up. They're a monopoly. They are far too massive. They need to be broken up completely. And quite honestly, I'd be happy to see them go. I'm done with anything. If I had kids, I wouldn't let them be exposed to much Disney-produced media at this stage. If only for reasons of it's all just straight production garbage. If this is the kind of shit they're actually, watching for entertainment and being raised on, I don't expect much from them. I'd rather give them the old, Disney stuff that I grew up on. golden era stuff. That's what kills me about Disney, is that people my age, a bunch of them, they grew up on golden era Disney stuff, or Disney Renaissance, I should say, excuse me, with some golden era stuff, and then didn't realize that, hey, the Renaissance ended. Y2K happened, and that was all she wrote. There's a lot of things Disney owns that I happen to like. Star Wars, Fox productions like King of the Hill and The Simpsons. But that's by virtue of them having bought those properties. It's not because they're anything Disney. I haven't liked anything Disney explicitly has created since I was a child. So Disney adults just disturb me.
I can simply make a statement. Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog, or a cow produce a non-cow, or a bacteria produce a non-bacteria. Nobody's ever seen any animal produce anything other than its kind. That is a fact. You believe pine trees and whales are related. You've got the burden of proof on you, son. Show me how that happened.
It's been explained to you. Don't call people son, old man.
To go from a pine tree to a whale, or whatever the common
Yeah, you wouldn't go from pine tree to whale. It would be common ancestor, which, as Ken has described, would be a very early eukaryote, because the branch between animals and plants happened really early on in life.
ancestor was. Show me that.
No truth to any of your religious beliefs either. Nothing you can show to be true.
No truth to any of my religious beliefs.
Because he knows it's all bullshit. God gets special pleading everywhere, in every way.
I believe God created this world. I think it is so complex, there had to be a God created. I believe the earth cannot possibly be billions of years old for all kinds of scientific reasons. I give on videotape number 1 scientific ways to show the earth cannot be billions of years old. I give lots of scientific reasons. I give all the scientific evidence, or a bunch of it, for a flood in the days of Noah. You may want to get the book by Walt Brown. He covers 200 and some pages of it here. The scientific evidence for a global flood. Had to be a global flood. There are clams like this one in the closed.
They aren't clams, they're brachiopods. So here's a little tip whenever you're watching a live stream, like after the fact, if you're a little behind on it, like DM here says that they might be a couple of minutes behind. The live stream, the pre-recorded sections of it, you can watch on the higher speed, and when you get to the current spot, it'll jump from 2x or 1.5 back to normal speed and play from there. So if you ever late to like my stream or AJ's stream and you want to catch up, zip to the beginning, pop it on 1.5 or 2x, however fast you can, stand, and go through, and you can catch the entire build up to about where you came in, and then where you are if there's not too much time. If it's been like 5 or 10 minutes, you can cut that down to 5 more minutes. So by 15 minutes total, you can be caught back up. It's cool stuff. I do that a lot on AJ's stream, since I usually catch into them a little bit after they start.
Position on top of Mount Everest, tallest mountain in the world. Closed clams is a problem to begin with, indicating that.
Don't get me started on Kingdom Hearts. To say I don't care would be an understatement. Find games, you want to play them, people enjoy them, go for it. I find it to be some of the most what the hell stuff to ever exist, that it was completely pointless to exist. But yeah, I don't want to talk about it because people say I'm too negative, because people I've known through the years, especially from the local geek and anime scene, cannot comprehend that people might not care about the same things, and maybe, just maybe, when other people won't shut up about something, it may get a little obnoxious.
Had to be buried alive, and these are found by the billions. Okay, there are petrified clams. We have thousands of them here in our museum. Come down, I'll give you one, Larry, if you want to come down and take a tour of the place. So petrified clams in the closed position is a good.
Yes, I have seen that clip, and if I had at all the hair to be able to do it, I'd totally go as Kent. I'll see what I can do, though.
Scientific hard evidence for rapid burial. It couldn't even open when it died. Clams open as soon as they die, and something eats them and they end up with 2 seashells. You hardly ever find a matched pair. We give all kinds of scientific evidence for creation and the flood and the earth not being billions of years old, and symbiotic relationships where it had to have a designer. No, you're the one that doesn't have any scientific evidence, and I hope some of your followers would take the blinders off and see how dumb these statements are you are making.
Consider that a second challenge for me that you can't answer, just like you couldn't answer the first one either.
There's nothing about biology or earth science or physical science or chemistry that involves evolution. It's a completely useless religion stirred in and mixed in with our science. So don't try to sneak your evolution in under the guise of science. It's not part. By the way, notice the bright colored clouds.
Yeah, polyphonic's totally understandable with nostalgia. There's a lot of stuff that even now I realize like I actually kind of don't like, but I still have a soft spot for because of nostalgia. No, my Kingdom Hearts thing, gameplay functionality is fine. Crisis Core was the same engine, Final Fantasy on a PSP, and that played fine. It was a little clunky, but nothing crazy. My problem is it's a clusterfuck. It's one of those things that's just like quintessentially Japanese, but didn't translate over to me. Because if it's supposed to be Final Fantasy-esque, i.e. with the original Square Enix concepts, then why does it need the Disney stuff? If it's going to have Disney stuff in it, why does it need the unique Square Enix elements and custom characters and the like? It has no identity. The identity is being what it is. And honestly, I could care less. I can't fucking stand Mickey Mouse. Just straight up. I fucking hate that character and Mickey, Minnie, the whole shebang. I like Goofy. I like Donald Duck some. As a kid growing up, I had Quackshot on the Genesis. I fucking love that game, even though I suck at it. So, some little Disney stuff I have a soft spot for. But when you get to those like core characters and all this stuff, I just could not freaking care. It's just, I don't know. And this was, first one came out when I was in high school, and it's like, okay, you got this going on. That's cool. But I mean, what's the point beyond that? I just couldn't get it. But I had a friend who was all over it. And I'm like, dude, we're like 17. You're hyped up over this. What? But, different strokes, different folks or whatever.
This first round, his clouds get darker every time. You must be getting upset, Larry. Take a pill, man. Okay, here we go. Of science, Mr. Nelson.
Shows how little you know. Science Daily
Kent doesn't know about the 3 shells.
counts evolution as one of 4 foundations of modern biology.
Well, then tell Science Daily to give me a call. Somebody lied to them. Who is editing that magazine? If Science Daily says evolution is one of the 4 principles of biology, wow. I would say the folks in North Korea say communism is the fundamental principle behind economics. I'd say
No, Kent, that is not how economic systems are done. They are not declared to be the fundamental system. Methodologies are chosen. It's like picking if you want your primary vehicle to be a car, a truck, a motorcycle. Oh, you got a truck. Is it diesel? Is it gasoline? Is it is your car electric? Oh, you have options for diesel cars. They're not very common, but you could go that route, which is what I really want. Love the fucking sound of diesels. But, they're all going to get you from point A to point B, just different ways. And some of them might work better than others, be more efficient. You're picking a system, Kent. It's not a be-all, end-all. You do not understand economics, the very fundamentals of it. Which means you also, if you can't get that, you don't understand government either. In fact, you don't understand any variable means to an end. How stupid are you?
the folks in
Here comes fucking heartburn, by the way.
Saudi Arabia say, oh, Islam is one of the top fundamental principles behind religion. Evolution is a
No, Kent. It's a nation heavily populated by Muslims because that's the predominant religion in the area, because that's just how it worked. Generally speaking, some flavor of Christianity is the most popular in Europe, be it Catholicism or otherwise. Some areas that battle gets a little heated, and looking at you, Ireland. It's not your fault. I feel bad for Ireland. I've been reading up on the troubles recently in some details. I feel really bad. Yeah. Tell us you don't understand anything without telling us you don't understand anything, Kent.
religion, Larry. That's all it is. You believe in it very strongly, and I admire your faith. I don't admire your intelligence for believing such a dumb thing, but you have great faith. That's good. And I don't care if Scientific Daily says evolution is a foundation of it. They're wrong. Tell them I said so. Tell them I'll debate all them too, same time. Half my brain tied behind my back, just to make it fair.
And of course, pioneer biologists and even today's leading textbook biologists overwhelmingly share that conclusion, even the ones who believe in the Christian God. Was to establish the fallacy of false equivalence.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Fallacy of false equivalency. Okay, here we go. What is the fallacy of false?
See, I was already way deep into the Final Fantasy stuff, so maybe that's part of why it didn't appeal to me, aside from also being 17. But again, that didn't explain my friend who was of equal gamer cred, so to speak.
Equivalency. Okay.
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. False equivalence is a logical fallacy in which two completely opposing arguments appear to be logically equivalent,
When in fact they are not. I'll look it up on Wikipedia, and they give a few examples, okay, of false equivalency. Here we go. Examples, okay. They're both living animals that metabolize chemical energy.
Is that what I listened to after Return of the Mac? Because I'm trying to figure out how to finish off that album.
There's no difference between a pet cat and a pet snail. Well, this is exactly what you do, Larry. There's no difference between an elephant and a pine tree because they're both eukaryotes. And since the pet cat and the pet snail both metabolize food, they have to be identical. If you can't tell the difference between a cat and a
Yeah, they're both animals.
snail, I think Esther, who lives in cabin 3 of 5, and is 4 years old, I think.
Oh shit! I was muted. Lives in cabin 3, 6, 5, or they're 4 years old. Do you let Chris Jones be around them? Serious question, Kent.
I think Esther could tell you which one's the cat and which one's the snail. You think she could at age 4? Probably no doubt.
All right, tell me which one's the animal, Kent. Which one is an animal? Ooh, you run into a problem there. They're both. Then they branch out pretty quickly. That's how it works, dumbass.
I bet Abby, who's 2 years old, I bet Abby could do it too, Larry. Well, come on down to Dinosaur Adventureland. We'll help you know the difference between a snail and a cat, okay? They're both hairy except for the snail. Oh, Aaron, this is...
So Sleek the Geek, yeah, he calls Wikipedia Wickedpedia, probably mostly because, one, since it's, tries to be factual, it is, pro-evolution, according to him, and two, it's, honest about his, everything wrong with Kent Hovind, which is plenty. A few streams ago, I did the whole, it was the one, Kent Hovind is, terrible, and you've got 30 minutes to prove me wrong or something that no Hovindite showed up to, where I just read some of his Wikipedia article to fill time.
This is precisely what you do.
Amen.
Preach it. False equivalency. I asked you, do you think a pine tree, a whale and a pine tree are related? Your answer was yes, they're both eukaryotes. A eukaryote is a cell that contains a nucleus wrapped in its own little membrane.
Yeah, and that's a diagnostic trait of those creatures, one that is not shared by all life, but is shared by a very large branch of life, indicating that it is some trait modification that happened very early in the diversification of life, i.e., one of the very early stages of evolution.
That's a common cell structure for millions of different creatures, okay? I know the elephant and the pine tree are related. They both have a trunk, okay? But you're accusing me of the logical fallacy of false equivalency? No, sir. Look in the mirror. You said an elephant and a pine tree are related because they're both eukaryotes. You are doing the false equivalency.
Amen.
Is that how you admit that elephants and pine trees really are eukaryotes, just like I...
Larry, I would agree. Elephants and pine trees are both eukaryotes. They both have cells that have a nucleus wrapped in its own membrane. Are you using that as evidence that they are related? Think about it for 5 minutes. Go ask your mama to explain this to you. That's not...
Oh, gotta talk like a juvenile. Can't say mother, can't say father. Gotta say mama, mommy, and daddy. Like a fucking country bumpkin. How the fuck do you get country-ass redneck bumpkins from the Midwest? Then I remember, oh yeah, the Midwest isn't what I think it is being a southerner.
Science.
I've been up there. I've seen the flat lands, the corn everywhere, all the factory-esque silos in the distance. It looks like industry, but it's still agriculture. And then slowly through the forests, as I peer over at the cross-arm connectors for ancient telephone lines, Chicago comes into view. The massive sound-dampening walls as I pass by O'Hare. I was 2 miles away from where John Wayne Gacy's house once was, and zipped on past. But that's okay. I would say I'll return on my tour of weird, dark, depressing sights, but that whole neighborhood is getting kind of gentrified. A lot of the buildings are being like torn down and redone. Eventually, you won't even be able to recognize it.
It's not common sense. You're saying, is that how you admit that they're related? I didn't admit they're related. They're both built out of similar materials. They're both designed by the same God.
And that, as you unwittingly implied.
So, if you can make it work, go for it.
Let me.
You just got to be really, really particular about how you add it in and make sure it has some relevancy in the controversies. You'll have to make it not seem like it's just a petty attack, but it is something that should be known.
Back 10 seconds, so there's no break here. You are doing the false equivalency.
Is that how you admit that elephants and pine trees really are eukaryotes, just like I said? And that, as you unwittingly implied, that it is also the biggest of a long succession of taxonomic categories?
Somebody decided to put all the creatures that have that cell type, cell with a nucleus wrapped in its own membrane, i.e. eukaryote, somebody decided to put all those in the same category called
S'mores, because he legitimately thinks, based on some information he found, that Aaron's actual name was Larry Nelson. For some stupid reason.
eukaryotes. How about we put all materials in the world that are made out of iron in the same category? This remote probably contains some iron in here. Let's see, it's got a couple of screws. The spring, I think, that holds the batteries in is probably iron.
Oh, can't you fucking idiot. They're not using steel for any of those components. Steel is too expensive. It's gonna be some, like, fucking, like, shitty zinc or practically tin screws. You think there's sexual fucking iron in there? Maybe in the screws. Maybe. That's it. Nothing else, buddy.
I think battleships are made out of iron, if I recall. So are aircraft carriers, so are airplanes. They got some iron in there.
Yeah, maybe the MiG-25, Kent. You generally use aluminum. If you're going really fancy, you use some good old titanium. And outside of, the MiG-25, not too many aircraft are mostly fucking steel, not iron. Good God, if this isn't a perfect thumbnail. Oh, man. Oh, man, I just looked up after having my eyes closed and was like, oh, my God. Just take it all in, ladies and germs. Take it all in. Data heuristics often counter to the way nature actually works. Yep. And for my international audience, sorry, having a bit of a yawn fit there. To contrast me saying aluminum, I will also say aluminium. There. All are accounted for. Not a good steel, a light steel. Make springs out of iron. Sometimes you would need something more springy. Yeah, they don't. They don't, Laura. Titanium alloy, yeah.
I got some iron in my house, like nails and screws. That proves houses and battleships are related because they both contain iron. This is the dumb logic you're trying to get your followers to believe in.
No, Kent, that's not the logic. You don't understand where the logic goes. You just don't. But that's intentional because you can lie about what's actually being said, make it seem like something stupid, and your audience goes, ha ha! Not understanding, once again, that the eukaryote, the nuances of it, and it being as prevalent as it is in one branch but not the other, when you divide along those lines, shows its very early development in our evolutionary heritage.
Yes, I would agree. Elephants and pine trees are both eukaryotes. I agree. Somebody decided all eukaryotes should be put in one lump. I do not agree that that's a smart idea, but I agree they're both eukaryotes. The cell structure is the same. I think that proves a common designer. It's a really cool structural design to use iron for lots of things because it's relatively cheap and it's relatively strong. There are stronger metals and cheaper metals and more expensive metals, but iron is a good compromise to use for lots of things. And if you mix a little carbon and other things with it, you can make various million different varieties of steel out of it. Even better. Well,
A million different varieties of steel. Really, Kent? There's a million different varieties of steel?
that's not proof that it happened by chance. And the fact that the elephants and pine trees both have eukaryote cells doesn't prove any kind of relationship.
Both have eukaryotic cells, and yes, it does show relation. Again, a deep common ancestry.
Wake up, son.
Because when I asked you to give me two examples of organisms that scientists would consider closely related, but which you imagine to be separate kinds, you went instead the other.
I imagine to be separate kinds. I think every 2-year-old in the planet would imagine.
You literally aren't even listening to what he said. He's in the middle of a question to you. He's establishing the details of the question, and you're interrupting midway through, Kent.
Them to be separate kinds. Elephants and pine trees are separate kinds. Do you have a problem with that?
Way to give me the two most distant organisms you could think of.
Larry, it's
Way to
because,
fail the.
Larry, it's because I'm trying to get you to see the dumb position you've taken. You have to use an example like really far off to get you to, whoa, wait a minute. Why do I believe such a thing? I'm trying to slap you back into reality. I don't want to see you go to hell. If the Bible's true and you haven't accepted Christ, that's where you're going. And you're sent.
Here we go. You'll find out when you're dead. Punishment. Can't get them with the carrot. Get them with the stick.
And other people there too by getting them to believe your dumb religion.
Here's the false equivalence. On the one hand, we have every one of the world's scientific organizations, with the greatest minds of the modern day, publishing nearly 27,000 peer-reviewed articles documenting what we can observe, test, and demonstrate to be true about a.
You cannot document, observe, test, or demonstrate to be true anything above microevolution. You cannot, nobody, all these 27,000 peer-reviewed articles, nobody has demonstrated any macroevolution. They certainly have not demonstrated any organic evolution, life coming from non-life, and they have tried awfully hard. And by the way, Larry, if a bunch of scientists get together and do take chemicals already existing, which they had to get from somewhere, they don't start with nothing, they start with God's chemicals, and they take energy from somewhere, and if they do put that together and make a life form, which they're nowhere close to doing, nowhere close, but if they could, that would prove it takes intelligence to make life.
Except it wouldn't if, like the Miller-Urey experiment, you're simply simulating conditions that that would have naturally existed, i.e. prebiotic world, and you end up seeing what could be classified as life developing, as we already saw various complex compounds form in the Miller-Urey experiment. You begin to see, seems like there's only the only real thing you need is what's that thing I like to say? Yeah, chemicals doing what chemicals do.
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't prove evolution. It wouldn't prove it could happen in nature given enough time. It would prove, wow, these guys had to work really hard to produce life. And that's only number 4, organic evolution. You try to greatly avoid the first 3 because it's.
He says people try to avoid this, that, the other, yet they'll talk about all of them, but then he claims is one topic at a time shit. And it's like, which was it, Kent? Do you think people are afraid of covering one or the other or what? Which it doesn't matter. They're all different topics, but, the first 4 different topics and 5 and 6 are the same. But,
You can't have no explanation for that. You guys all pretend that the first four don't belong to the theory of evolution. They do in the textbooks. If they don't belong to evolution theory, well, then help me get at least those four out of the textbooks, if you really value truth like you claim you do.
Evolution. And on the other hand, we have a willfully ignorant religious fanatic in a Hawaiian shirt in backwoods Alabama who bases his science on comic books.
That's what I need to get a copy of, the Big Daddy tract, and get Kent to sign it. That'd be hilarious. Still need to send him an email and say, hey, can you bring Dino Lamp?
That he wrote himself on his own lack of education or authority.
Whoa, Larry, now you hurt my feelings so bad. First of all, I did not write the comic book. Jack Chick, California, Chino, California, chick.com, C-H-I-C-K. He was a good friend of mine. He wrote this comic book years ago. It was excellent. He asked me one time, he said, Kent, would you help me update it a little bit? So I helped him update it, changed a few little things to improve it because it was like 30 years old. I did not write the comic book.
Kent saying you needed to update something 30 years old. Okay there, Kent.
And my science is not based on a comic book. My science is based on observation from all of human history. Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog or a cow produce a non-cow. It only happens in the imagination. You have a wild imagination. You should go work for the people that do SpongeBob. They're always looking for new programs. How can we imagine at Bikini Bottom something happening? Ask them if they need somebody to work for them. You can do something besides being a YouTuber. I didn't write the comic book, okay? And my science is not based on a comic book that I wrote myself.
Says the guy in a Hawaiian shirt who just prattled on to YouTube not every day, every night until he got kicked off of there eventually. And by that point, had learned he needed to diversify stuff. You're still just a video creator, Kent. That's really all you are in the professional sphere. Honestly, your preaching credentials are kind of up the creek, as they should be.
Have your facts wrong, Larry. I'll take the apology anytime, okay?
An evil spirit, spells, and curses, but that's what he...
Evil spirit, spells, and curses?
Yep.
When have I ever said that? Amen.
And though you may not realize it, because you obviously haven't given this much analytical thought, you believe in supernatural devils taking on spiritual form.
Supernatural
If not, you'd at least be called Daddy.
devils taking on spiritual form. He tries to slip all this stuff in all the time, This is like Satan, probably that's who he works for, telling Eve, switching little tiny words here and there. Yea, hath God said? Are you sure God said that? Supernatural devils. Let me just continue here.
Think an evil spirit spoke everything into being with an incantation, and...
Note that the video's about to end right here because he knows Aaron's going to make good points. It's like, uh-oh, I can't just reject this because it's true.
Evil spirit spoke everything into being with an incantation, Larry. I think a wonderful, loving God created everything.
God doesn't love shit except himself.
And it wasn't with an incantation, it was with his word. He spoke.
All right, let's look this up. As my keyboard craps out. Incantation. Definition. Let me share this tab. A series of words said as a magic spell or charm. What was that now, Kent?
Everything. Larry.
And
Evil spirit spoke everything into being with an incantation, Larry. I think a wonderful, loving God created everything. And it wasn't with an incantation, it was with his word. He spoke.
You fucking dumbass.
Everything came into existence, perfect, flawless. Later, man messed it up. He gave man freedom of choice. The whole story's in Genesis, first 6 chapters. If you'd like to read it, I'll read it to you. Come on down Dinosaur Adventureland. I'll give you a tour, and I'll read all 6 chapters to you, if you'd like. That it's not an evil spirit. God is a good spirit. Now, God is a just judge. He's going to have to judge one day. He would not be good if he weren't fair. And it's only fair to give people what they deserve. And the punishment for...
Oh, you didn't miss much, Otaku. You'll have to go back. Someone got my card information and apparently decided to drop $100 on a European subscription to Crunchyroll. So I'm gonna be having hell with the bank. Don't know which one of you clowns did it, but when I found out, not even kidding about that either, Otaku. It's just rather funny. That's fucking Crunchyroll. So yeah.
For one sin is death. If God is a holy, righteous, perfect God, he cannot tolerate sin. If he let sin into heaven, we'd wreck that place like we've wrecked this one. So the holy, righteous, perfect, loving God provided a way out, named Jesus Christ. God himself came down to earth, became a man, named Jesus Christ, let them kill him, a most horrible death to die, the death on the cross, and he will forgive your sins based on that blood that was shed on that cross. That is the only hope you have, son. I accepted that nearly 50 years ago and said, Lord, I'll accept that payment for my sin. I don't want to go to hell. I don't want what I deserve. I want your mercy. Based on what Jesus did, I'll take.
All right, Kent. And as I've said before, I do not believe any of that. But if it were to be true, I preemptively say, sure, I accept that. If it's true, then that would be the only reasonable conclusion. It just hasn't been proven true to me. But I tentatively accept that. Therefore, I'm good. Because if the requirement is acceptance, then I'm good. Get fucked, Kent.
That payment for my sin. He forgave me, moved into my heart. God is not an evil spirit, Larry. He loves you. Now, he's probably angry at what you're doing, turning people away from him, but he's even willing to forgive that. It's not too late. As long as you're above room temperature, there's time. Better hurry. Okay, folks, that's all. We only covered...
the threat. Always got to end with the threat.
Gee whiz, 4.5 minutes. This is going to take a long time. Now, Larry, just so you're aware, I told you, and I told everybody, I won't leave out a single word. You left out a whole bunch of my stuff. Of course, rules don't matter if you're an atheist. I'm going to go, Steve, this may take 5 years, okay? I think we're going to do a couple of more short and then whenever we get time, we'll take the next 4 minutes. Larry, you have 7 videos out there waiting for me to respond to. I'm not the least bit afraid of anything you've said, nothing you've said, okay? But I'm a busy guy here. There's a lot going on here, a lot going on. So I'm not going to spend the next month devoting all my time to you. Whenever we get a few minutes, we'll do a 45-minute program. This is not interfering with our Bible study. We're still doing the Bible study tonight, and we're going to do it every night. Bible study right on time. This is going to be something that wastes 45 minutes of my time, but I do it.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously. I'm just going to be in touch with the bank and then in touch with Crunchyroll. That's all there's going to be to it. Bank's going to reject that stuff. I just have to wait for it to actually go through, which means I'm out the $100. And I skirt razor's edge on everything. So, yeah, this kind of sucks.
To help those people that you have duped into believing the dumb religion that whales and pine trees are related, I'm going to try to rescue some of them from the insanity that you are spreading around. Call me anytime if you'd like to talk, Larry. 855-BIG-DINO, extension 3. I'll answer the phone.
Well, he does stress that he'd cut out the swearing, but ironically, when Aaron was using pseudo-profanity, he still cut it out, not understanding that joke words aren't going to hurt him, because even the real words wouldn't.
Or come visit, or get a church in your area to have me come speak over there. I'll take you out to dinner, I'll buy, and I'll sit and talk to you about creation versus evolution.
Yeah, Hovind complaining about rules and laws and obeying them when he doesn't give a damn is so fucking hilarious.
Or we can talk about anything else if you'd like. About snails and whales being related if you think that's true. But no, you have a religion.
Kent, you want to talk about anything? I'd love to talk World War II with you. Oh my god. Yo. If I actually get some time with Kent where he isn't trying to be all up everyone else's ass, I actually might be able to get a legitimate conversation about World War II with him. Well, yeah, y'all would love to see that, wouldn't you? Me and him having an actual, like, normal friend-to-friend kind of conversation. Not that I'm his friend, but, you know, something that isn't this crap. That would be interesting. One fragment of seeing Kent Hovind's humanity. I would honestly cherish that, even though I don't like the guy. It would be an experience, you know?
Son, and you don't see it and you don't admit it. I think you like the freedom it gives you from any accountability. That's what I suspect. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. Bible study tonight. See you tomorrow. Bye.
We did it. It's over. We went through all of Hovind's part of this stuff. It's great. Very great. I'll do what I can at the ARC protest. I mean, it's the middle of Kentucky. The cell phone signal is probably not going to be that great. And my phone battery life is only so. Charging port's broke on it, so I have to use wireless charging. You know, there's a lot of stuff I got to do that's special with this thing. But I'll do what I can while I'm at the encounter, because I mean, you know, Seth is hell bent on us going together, so we're gonna be hitting that up. Learned a lot from the stream. Well, I'm glad, Zoso. I learned a lot from all of y'all as well. I'm gonna hop off here. Streamed a lot today. Much love. I'm gonna go try to relax after a little shock to the system of bullshit with this fucking trim. And you can't dispute this stuff till it actually clears in your bank. So yeah, I'll be in touch with the relevant groups, and yeah, I'll get this resolved. I know it'll be resolved. I just don't want to have to deal with it. Much love. I'll